Have you ever wondered how millionaires or multimillionaires, entrepreneurs manage their money? And I'm not talking about like the business funds. I have another YouTube video on my channel where I show how we manage our company capital. But in this video, I want to break down the money management system that I use today as a multimillionaire. And, this is a strategy, money management system that I started using almost 10 years ago. So I've been utilizing the same strategy for years and years, and it's been super fruitful for me. And, I started at 21 and, it allowed me to become a millionaire from money management by the time I was 25 and, 30 today. And, it's really been able to compound really well over the years. And so just want to share some things that I've found to work and, take what's helpful for you, throw away what's not a financial advisor or tax person or anything like that. So really this video is just to show you, these are some things that have worked for me that helped me become a millionaire. And I just want to share, with you. And it's very simple that you can take this and implement it into your life. The framework, the foundation of this came from a book that I read by T. Harv Eker called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he had a very simple personal money management system that he talks about in his book, and it's called like the JARS system. And so that was what I adopted and started following when I was 21. And what I want to share with you is, the way that you set up this system. And then I want to share later in the video now what I do today with some amendments that I've made to the system to my personal, situation that I have now today. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at how this system works. This is essentially what the percentages that are recommended in the book, which is basically having of all of your income, what percentages should go where. And so as you're looking at this, there's some things that I want to cover as you go into this. One of those, and sometimes when I share this with people, they're like, Cody, like I can't put 55% of my income to just necessities. Necessities are literally 90+% of my income. Well, spoiler alert, most people that just implement a new money management system end up being in those same shoes, and they have that same situation where they can't follow this. This is the goal that you want to get to, is like the baseline, right? And so that's, one thing to keep in mind is like you're not going to start here, but this is where your goal is to get to. So how I initially set this up was I went and, set up different savings accounts for these different accounts. Like I had my necessities come out of my checking account. So the money would go in there, and then I would split the money between these different accounts. So I had, a savings account for the long-term, savings for spending, play, give, financial freedom, education. So I had those different accounts. And I started it with what I could do. For me, I don't remember the exact amount, but I think I was probably somewhere around like 80% or 90% of what I was making at the time when I first started this had to go to necessities. So, Cody, what do you do in that case? Well, you allocate lesser percentages to these areas. I don't remember the exact amount that I did, but just to give you like an example of what you could do with this is, okay, well, if 80 to 90% of your money goes here, maybe then you allocate like, maybe 3% to play, long-term spending for saving, maybe you do 2% here. If let's just call it that you were at 90, so now you're at 95, and then, you're investing in, just 5% in your education to grow yourself and your skills and your abilities. And you opt for 0% here, just starting off. Or you could break it up evenly and just do a couple percent on each of those. It's not about being perfect when you start. It's about starting, and it's creating the habit for yourself. And so that's what I did when I was 21. Started that process and going down this path. And there's a couple other things I want to mention as we go through this. And so, questions that people have and things that people have asked me when I've explained this to them. They're like, well, Cody, what do you do if you have debt? Well, the long-term savings for spending is whatever would go into that account is what I would use to pay down debt. So like if I had to put 80 to 90% for necessities, I would allocate a percentage for the debt and be throwing that at the debt until I could pay it off. And there's just no other stuff that's going to be spent out of here. And so necessities is like your day-to-day living, rent, mortgage, utilities, car payments, just your groceries, all of that. Long-term spending for savings, the way that I view this is like that's money to save to go on vacations. That's money to save to maybe buy a new car. Maybe you want to buy like a new washer and dryer for your house, like just bigger expenses, bigger one-time expenses. Go to that. And in my opinion, if you are, if you're in debt, you should just use this to put as much as you can there to pay down your debt. That's what it looks like on long-term savings for spending here. On the play account, that's literally money that goes in there for you to just blow every month so that you can enjoy it and so you don't feel restricted. And so that's where having at least like a small percentage there where you can be, having some fun, but it's really not a lot of money because you have to clean up some messes in other areas. And then education is just money to invest in growing yourself. For me, I invest in masterminds, coaches, mentorships. Just this year at time of the recording, I have like 3 different masterminds that I'm going to. I have a personal business coach that I pay monthly that teaches me and helps me grow as an executive leader. And then I also have another business coach that's, rolled up and sold companies for over $1 billion. And I pay him to coach me on how to scale companies strategically and acquire companies and to sell companies. So for me, I use that, that's what I use my education account for now these days. But in the early days, it was maybe just buying like little courses here and there that I could afford with that, or buying books. Also for me, this education account, I have it as like the invest in Cody account. And so I also include like paying a personal trainer, a nutritionist in there, because those are investments in me that are going to create a high ROI for me to become better. So I treat anything that's in that education as like whatever is investing in Cody being a better human overall. Financial freedom account, that's just money to invest to grow your financial wealth. And any money that's gained from it, you just continue compounding it. And then the give account, pretty straightforward, just money that you're going to be giving to family, friends, charity, whatever you choose to give to, your church. That's, essentially like the baseline of how this system works, and, how it started, and, some ideas on if you can't follow this right now, how you can start. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You start at maybe 80 to 90%, and then you work on your budget. You work on making more money through your job or side hustles to be able to improve this. That is how it started for me. And I stuck with it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It matters more what you do for long periods of time. I've been doing this for 10 years almost. Literally, I started this when I was 21. I'm 30 right now. I turned 31 in 3 months. And I've been doing this for close to 10 years. And after 4 years of following it is when I became a millionaire, now multi-millionaire at this point. It's kind of weird saying that. I'm not a person that wants to like impress people, but I really believe in what this has done for me and what it can do for others. And so that's where I wanted to make the video. And I'll kind of share a little bit more on like now what I do with this today, and a couple other things that I've added to the system that, don't follow this perfectly, but it's my system. It's worked for me. I found that this has been helpful. So I just want to share it with you. And so, you can see if this is helpful for you as well. Let's take a look at these again today. My necessity, I spend about 20% of what I make on necessities. I've really reduced, from like a standpoint of like what I make to what I spend on my personal expenses is really, gotten lower. I got this down to a point, a couple years ago until I moved into the house that I'm in now, where I had it at like 5%. Like it was stupid cheap, like, because just from like the income standpoint to what I was spending on me personally, it was, really great because I was able to put money elsewhere. So I put about 20% to necessity. I think for people that aren't weirdos like me, goal like that 55%, maybe if you can get it down to like 35 to 40% by increasing income, would probably be okay. But for me, I'm very conservative. I don't like to spend a lot of money. I don't want to have my lifestyle stress me out ever. So that's just what I do. And it works for me. That's just the way I live my life. And then, so the next one is the financial freedom account. That one is, again, the one that you are just investing. For me on this, I put about 50% of what I make to me personally to my financial freedom accounts. And so this kind of breaks off into a few different things. So I've kind of bucketed this a little bit more because I invest now between a few different primary categories. So I have real estate holdings that some of this goes to. I also lend money. I'm a private money lender for other fix and flippers that I'll get a percentage return on. I also allocate some of this 50% for business acquisition. And I have a very small amount of stocks, literally just the S&P 500, because I don't know anything about stocks, but I'm just betting on the economy and that America is going to be successful. So again, very small percentage of my net worth in stocks. And then crypto, I have a very small percentage in both of those. Majority of my capital that I'm investing is going into right now, private money lending and then business acquisitions and then small percentage to stocks and crypto. I'm not even buying any real estate right now at the time of this recording. That may change in the future, but just interest rates are crap. So it's hard to really make deals make sense right now. So I'm just more so all in on lending money and buying businesses and then putting a small percentage to stocks and crypto. I also, will put money into whole life insurance policies as well to have, nice death benefit, also build cash value in those. So like from the financial freedom account standpoint, I just like stocking money into all of those accounts. This is extremely aggressive and most people probably doesn't make sense to do this. But again, for me, I just want to compound my wealth as much as I can. I'm young. I don't need to spend all this money on lifestyle. So I just choose to do that and it works for me. Do it works for you. So next thing on here we have is the fun account, which for me right now, I put about 5% to fun. 5% of my income is pretty good. I'm able to go on a few international trips a year, travel first class, stay in, the best hotels and the areas that I go to, have a great time. And, we do lots of fun things. My wife and me and our dog, we, travel around, do a lot of fun stuff. We spend it, but, I don't really allocate, huge percentage there because it's just, I don't, it's like there's only so much fun money to spend. A lot of the things that are fun for me and my wife and our little family at home is like we like to take our dog on a walk. Like we like to listen to podcasts. We like to have friends over and barbecue on the weekends, So like we'll spend money at the meat market on like high quality meat. We'll spend money on stuff like that. But like outside of like travel and things like that, like neither of us really care about clothes. You see me record videos, like I buy a bunch of black and white and solid colored t-shirts from Lululemon, and I buy Ralph Lauren jeans, just a bunch of the same pair. They're very comfortable. They are expensive, but like after a certain point, it's like I don't buy stuff. Like I don't collect jewelry. I have one nice watch that I'm wearing, and outside of that, I don't really care. I do spend money on cars out of not this, but another account, which is a long-term savings account, which is meant to be able to buy cars, to buy, vacation homes and things like that. And so, I guess we'll kind of segue to that. So long-term savings account for that right now, I do 15% there. And so, again, that's for vacation. So like that's usually what I'll use is like the long-term savings account to like pay to go on the vacation and then like money from the fun account to like spend while I'm there, just because it usually accumulates and I don't have things that I want to spend it on. Car stuff, like I am a car guy, I have a Lamborghini Huracan, an S65 AMG Mercedes and a Jeep and, old collector car and stuff like that. Home improvements, I'll use out of this, planting new plants or like doing different stuff at our house. So that's typically what I'll use the money for that's going into that. And, one of our goals for me and my wife is we want to buy a home in Hawaii, sometime in the next probably 5 years. And so that'll accumulate over time and we'll use that to buy the house in Hawaii. So that's really how that's structured right now. And then, the last couple here is, the education account, which I do 5% there. And I mentioned it before, but for me, education, I'll spend on, my personal health, personal trainers, nutrition. I'll spend it on masterminds, events, things like that. I mentioned, the coaches that I have. That's really what I'll spend the education money on, is just invest in Cody money, basically. And then my final one that I have here is the give account, which is 5% give. And so for me, I don't really like giving money to other nonprofits. So I started a nonprofit with my mom and it's called State 48 Paw Partners. And so for me, I know where the money's going to go. We help save dogs here in Arizona that, are going to be euthanized, or, families that are less fortunate and they have their dog breaks their leg and they're going to have to give up their dog and surrender their dog because they can't afford the medical bills. We help out with situations like that, fostering dogs, paying for dog training and different things like that. So that's where I have my give money go to. I don't give it to church or charities or anything like that. Everyone has a different opinion on all that. I want to know where the money's going that I donate and give because I work hard for the money that I make. So that's where I'm like, I want to, set up my own thing. And so my mom stewards making sure it's, given to dogs in need, which is great. So that's essentially, what my situation is now. Outside of that, there is one account that I think is missing from the situation in T. Harv Eker's book. And so for me, I'm just going to erase this real quick. So The additional account that I like to have, because I'm more of a conservative guy, and so from like a savings and everything standpoint, I like to have a separate account that's also an emergency fund. And so everyone has a different preference. I like to have 1 year of all my personal living expenses in this. Good starting point if you don't have anything could be, okay, you just want to get $1,000 emergency fund. Then maybe you want to grow it to 3 months of living expenses, then maybe 6 months. And then you're probably not a psycho like I am, and you don't need to build it to a year. I don't like worrying about money, guys. So that's why I do this. There's the rational, like invest in things differently, but there's also like the way that you want to live life. I also don't like having loans on my cars. So I just pay my cars off. And so everyone says it's stupid. And they're like, Cody, you could be compounding your money and you could be getting X percentage return on those funds that you're getting, from having that money sit in those cars. And I'm like, great. I should go and refinance and get cash out of the Lambo and like the other cars that I have so I can go invest it and arbitrage the return to change nothing in my life. I wouldn't buy other cars. I bought the cars I wanted. I live in the house that I love. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, why do I need to do that? I'm growing my net worth by doing this here and investing a large portion of my money, but not having high overhead of personal expenses outside of, my mortgage. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's just what I do. People say I'm stupid. They're like, "Oh, you like Dave Ramsey?" I'm like, "I do like Dave Ramsey for personal. I don't like having debt on, personal, credit card debt. I don't like having car loan debt. I don't like having, personal mortgage. I am paying it off at a faster rate and will eventually pay it off faster. And it's stupid, but I feel great about it and it makes me sleep good at night. And that's who I am. And so know thyself, I think, is the important part of this. And so this is, really the structure that I've set up that I've found to work that lets me sleep good at night, that I'm compounding my wealth, and I'm able to have, a lot of fun and enjoy things that I like in life. And, I think that's, the overall money management system of this is it's meant to allow you to, create a life that you love, and you don't have to be restricted because you allocate money for fun, because you are able to allocate for vacations and buying new cars and things like that. Don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter freaking 10, guys. I've been doing this for 10 years, over almost 3,650 days or whatever it is. I've been doing this every month like clockwork, not doing it for a couple months, stopping and starting. A decade. So don't compare where I'm at to where you are. I started with couldn't even do the system that was in the book. I couldn't even do this. This I couldn't do. I had to work on it over time. And over time, I had to increase my expenses and live below my means. And I lived below my means most of my entire 20s. From like 21 to 27, I lived below my means. And as you can see, to this day, I still live pretty below my means, spending only about 20% of what I make personally, on my personal expenses. From recommendation standpoint, you have to find what works for you. But if you haven't read, T. Harv's book on Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, highly, highly recommend. It's changed my life. And, I'm just so eternally grateful for the strategies that I've been able to take away from it. Hopefully this was helpful for you. The only thing that I ask from you watching this video is if you got any value from it or any ideas or inspiration for yourself, what I would ask is like the video and share it with a friend. Share it with a friend of yours that you're on the come up together to become millionaires. Maybe you're a millionaire just trying to see some other strategies. Like the video, share it with a friend. I create this stuff because I want other people to be successful. I want to show people things that I've found that have worked for me. Take the things that you like, use them, throw away the things you don't like. Again, this is just my life, and I'm just, sharing what I found to work over the years, and been able to create a pretty cool life from, doing things like this. So with that being said, again, like the video, share it with a friend, and we'll see you in the next video.